Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Priya, aka Beauty and the Books, and as you can tell from the title, we do all things beauty and book based here. So if that sounds like a little bit of you, then you know what to do. Today we have a cheeky little book review for you. And as you can tell by the title, we are reviewing Orphan Monster Spy by Killeen. Now this is a little beauty that I picked up from Yalk, 2022 Yalk, from the Usborne, I think that's how you say it, counter, and I think I got it on the last day, but I saw it and I was like, that looks interesting. And it's also very different from the YA that I normally read. This is historical fiction YA, and I am very much a fantasy, sci-fi, YA gal. I mean, just take a look here. But yeah, so today we are reviewing this, so if you're interested in my thoughts then just keep on watching. So before we carry on, here is the synopsis. Give it a pause, give it a read, and then carrying on. So we'll start off with kind of the writing side and then kind of like facts and technicalities of it first. So it follows a girl called Sarah, who is an Aryan passing Jewish girl in the lead up to World War II. So World War II hasn't happened yet. It's all the events and kind of the persecution of the Jews before the war happens. You get me? You see where we are? So it follows her, and it's a one-point person that I can't speak. So it follows her and it's a one-person point of view. So it's all her, all of her story, but it does flip between the present and the past, and as it does that throughout the novel, you're kind of given nuggets of information about Sarah's past, which then makes sense considering her current situation in the present. Does that make sense? So she reveals nuggets of information about her gymnastics skills, where her acting and her lying skills came from, how she knows so much about X, Y and Z. That's all kind of revealed in her little flashbacks, and then it makes sense in her present situation. As mentioned, it is a historical fiction. Now, I don't know a lot about Nazi Germany or Germany in general, or a lot about World War II. I just know what I was taught in school and what I did for my A-level, and from what I could tell, and from reading some reviews online, the research behind this and trying to make the world as authentic as possible while still being fiction was done quite well. And there is a lot of, I think it's German and maybe Danish, I don't know, but it's definitely German. There's a lot of German words just sprinkle around, and I definitely could have done with maybe a glossary at the back just so I could flip through, because I'm not one of those that's just going to Google it. I saw a lot of people in the reviews just Googling it and they say it added to their reading experience, but I just kind of read it and gauged what it meant from the context in which I was reading it and then just moved on. I did like that. I did add a sort of like, I don't want to say authenticity, but like it just added to the novel, especially when there's a character called the Captain. When he pointed out to Sarah whatever she was saying was the Jewish version, and if she was gonna pretend to be Aryan German, she probably shouldn't say that because they wouldn't use any Jewish colloquialisms. So yeah, I really kind of appreciate that. Overall, the writing was really easy to read, really easy to get on with. I would definitely say it lacks the depth that a lot of novels of this time would include, but in terms of like, you know, the seriousness and like the horrific acts and stuff, it doesn't really go that much into it. It's quite high level and quite immature in a way, because obviously it is targeted at a younger audience, so it is for them. It doesn't really have a lot of that. So we'll move on to the plot. I have to say, I was very intrigued by the plot. I thought it sounded really cool, and like I said, I am not normally a historical fiction person, but this got me and it sounded really cool. And I have to say, the plot and the way that the story unveils is not the way in which I thought it would. It was quite different to my assumptions. I thought she would kind of already be an established spy, and this is just one of her missions and it just goes from there, but Sarah kind of falls into the spy world, so to say. That's all I'm going to say. So yeah, it wasn't like how I anticipated, but I really did enjoy the plot and how it went. There was a little bit of a dip in the middle. When Sarah infiltrates the Nazi school, she is then kind of thrown into this mean girl complex of school cliques and stuff, and I just think that bit in the middle and her beef with the mean girl group, I just didn't really get like the purpose of. I kind of get she was doing it to get in with one of the girls to then, you know, infiltrate deeper, but the said girl she was trying to get in with wasn't the head girl, it was someone else entirely. So I think that would have worked better if that was the head girl instead, because I was reading this thinking, what is the point? Like, who is this irrelevant character? Like, I don't really care about her. And you didn't really get much of the one that she was trying to infiltrate until a little bit later. So I have to say, it's definitely unrealistic in terms of the things that Sarah can achieve, considering she is out of practice gymnast who's basically malnourished and whatever, but she's able to compete these really tasking physical events and stuff. So it's definitely unrealistic, but it is a YA historical fiction, so what do you expect, right? She is a 15-year-old kid pretending to be a spy. Well, she is a spy. So there were some reviews in Goodreads that were like, oh, this is so unrealistic, how is she this but then can still do this? Because it's a book. It did feel a little bit like a gritty, I won't say real life because obviously I don't know anything about it, but like it felt like a gritty portrayal of what an experience of someone being persecuted in that time would be like. To be honest, it didn't really shy away from anything. It gave the kind of really grueling details about starvation, constant attacks, fear, and the survival instincts that come. So I kind of felt like every time it flashed back to Sarah's previous life before where she was now, it was quite a dark and, like, I want to say authentic portrayal. Nothing was made to be flowery. There we go. Nothing was made to be flowery. Nothing in that sense was skimmed over. It was just said as it is because that's as it happened. In terms of kind of my reading experience, I think it does throw you in the deep end straight away, and sometimes for me that just throws me off and I'm a bit like So I found it slightly slow to get into at the beginning, and I think that's because, like I said before, I assumed she would already be a spy and this would already be her life, but that was not the case, so I was a bit confused as to what was going on. But I mean, that soon kind of changed and I was over it and that was fine. Then there was that dip in the middle that I mentioned, but then I think the last quarter of the novel was probably the best. It got really suspenseful, it got really intense, a lot of stuff happened, and there were a few plot twists in there that made me uncomfortable that I didn't really expect, but I also thought really added to the book. So I have to say, overall I enjoyed the plot, I enjoyed the way that it was written, and I enjoyed what was included and the way that the narrative went. There were the odd bits in there I'm thinking, well, why on earth is this in here, but you know, each to their own. And then if we move over to the characters, Sarah herself, to be fair, isn't that bad. I think there's a very fine line when you're reading a novel targeted at this age group that can mean that the female protagonist is incredibly annoying or she's absolutely fine, and I'd say she's absolutely fine. Some of her monologue, I have to say, was a little bit repetitive, especially her hyper awareness around her Jewishness in this, you know, Nazi world. But to be fair, like, she is in a Nazi school, so obviously you're going to be hyper aware of the fact that you should not be there and everybody in that room wants to kill you. So I think some reviews I saw found that a bit annoying, but it didn't really kind of went over my head. So I thought she was a good character, she definitely evoked some emotion in me, and that's a good judge for me to know if I like the character or not, if they've evoked any emotion, whether it's hatred or likability or whatever. She invoked some stuff in me. I did feel for her pain a little bit, but not like, I wasn't really connected, I wasn't crying for her. So yeah, overall she was a likeable protagonist, and I liked her internal monologue, and as she's talking to people she's also talking to herself, and you are exposed to that in the writing, which I really liked. And then the other main character is probably the captain, who she ends up kind of crossing paths with, who eventually gets her into being a spy. He was very enigmatic. He was enigma, however you say that in that way. He was very mysterious. Rightly so. You don't really know that much about him, although he does divulge some secrets that could probably do with being, you know, developed a little bit more. But to be fair, there is a book too, so maybe that does get developed more into that, who knows, not me. But I mean, he was alright. I didn't mind him, and I think the both of them worked quite well together. And yeah, so that's it really. So overall, I'd say it's a decent book. It's quite good. I've read it in about a week. It kept me gripped. I consistently wanted to know what was going on. The plot took its twists and turns that I didn't really expect or foreshadow. And I'd have to say it was really easy to get on with, and the writing was super simple. And it's just, if you want something to take on holiday with you that is serious but not like, you know, soul-crushingly depressive and deep, but also does have, you know, an element of historical accuracy and stuff, I think it's alright. It's a good book. So yeah, that's it for my review, guys. If you've read it and you have some opinions, please share those in the comments below. But that's it for today's review. I hope it made sense. I feel like I was just talking all over myself today. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Oh, my voice is all okay. Cool. Rude. Constant attacks. Cool. It's a one person. Nice. Nice. Do you know what? We need the synopsis.